This is an open letter to Mr. Marco Rubio. Some years ago, probably 100, now maybe 200 years ago, around that time, a guy from India, a Zoroastrian from India, happened to travel back to Iran and heard, at least this is the legend, he heard that yes, the government of Iran, in an attempt to homogenize the society, the government of Iran was charging anybody who didn't want to convert to Islam and show up at the local mosque. They were charging these people money, sort of like, if you don't want to convert to the national religion that we have chosen as a tribe, if you don't want to convert to that, we're going to charge you. I believe they call it Jizya. So they charged anybody who wasn't a Muslim, in order to encourage the society to become more homogeneous. Surprise, surprise. I mean, the whole idea behind, pick one language and stick with it, even though it's fucking British. Stick with one language, stick with one, perspective, stick with one religion, stick with this and stick with that. It's all attempts at making the society homogeneous, as opposed to heterogeneous, which would be a mixed society. A mixed society, in terms of where they're going, it's not, there is no homogeneous when you have a mixed society. If you want to force homogeneous society, you have to apply force in order to produce a homogeneous society. Borders and restrictions, because you want to keep a homogeneous society. These are all attempts at that. So the guy from India, who are known as Parsis, says, okay, I made a lot of money here in India. How much do I have to pay in one go? How much lump sum money do you want me to pay? I went to the king at the time, one of these Qajari assholes. He went to the king and said, okay, how much do you want for these folks? So they don't have to pay, because they're already, a minority, a religious minority, and they already are not, welcome in the society. So they're already poor. They can't pay jizya, but we want to keep this religion. We want to keep these people in our religion. So how much do I have to pay? So in order to bring the Zoroastrians out of poverty, this guy paid a lump sum of money to the cash-starved or gold-starved king at the time in Iran, and bought all these folk, paid for all these. The Zoroastrian religious minority was bought and paid for by some guy from India. Anyway, salute. By the way, the name of this letter is Bravo, Mr. Marco Rubio. Bravo, sir. You have become the Secretary of State and, rub shoulders with the big boys. Great. But I'm trying to give you a perspective that, let me put it this way. You see 9 out of 10 after years of suffering, they have learned, the Iranians have learned, and 9 out of 10 statues in Iran that are made are poets and writers. Now, you walk around in your greater cities, you see all sorts of statues in England too, in all these English, British ex-colonies. You don't really, there's not much care about the poets and the artists and the, you know, you don't make statues of the great jugglers of their time. You make statues of their great generals of their time. You know, and some generals happen to be on the wrong side, the losing side, so now somehow their name is tainted now, just because they lost. So my point is this, that the Chinese, the Indians, most of these Asians have killed each other for so long, that they are very, very much, you know, not interested. They're not interested in killing these people in Asia, not the Chinese, not the Indians, not the Iranians, not even the Arabs that much. They're not, because they have written history from 6,000-7,000 years ago, and you go over it and you learn that the whole thing is a bullshit. Is all these wars over worldly possessions. It's just nothing but a bloodbath. You know, doesn't make much sense, logical sense. You know, none of them does, and it's just a bunch of rich people who have, you know, who want to have access to somebody else's pot of tea. You know, rich people who don't want to trade with their other rich people. They rather, you know, kill them and take over their pot of tea. You know, rich people not getting along leads to war. Asians, most of their cultures are very peaceful. I mean, look at the Buddhists. I mean, they're known for the fucking peacefulness. So because of this written history, which apparently you don't have in the West Europeans especially, you know, you're still colonial minded. It's like, no, we only put statues up of our generals and admirals, you know, maybe a couple of captains here and there. and it is what it is. I mean, you put a bull in front of the Wall Street, you literally make a golden calf and you put it in front of Wall Street or behind Wall Street, in the vicinity of Wall Street. It's the golden calf. You know, it's not a poet, it's not an artist, it's not a juggler. It's a, you know, chasing you know, accumulation of added productivity. And the less we have to pay for the raw resources, and the more we can charge for our product, the better we'll be. And that was the whole idea behind colonialism, that we want your resources, but we don't want to actually pay for your resources, so you can also have a good standard of living. Hey, people in Africa, people in South America, people in Asia, we don't want to actually pay you for your shit. We want to own your shit and make more money with your shit. You know, we want to own your raw resources, and by processing it, we want to, you know, make more money because we got our product for free because we own it. That's the mining and the rubber this and oil that and timber this, and, you know, that's the whole idea behind invasion of Russia for the third time, just this in a span of 200 years of invasion of Russia by Europeans, by the fucking British. How many British have died on the island of Crimea? They fucking have poems about them. They have poems about the number of peasants who died. They have poems about the number of peasants the British were willing to sacrifice, and they wrote a poem about it, I believe. What was it called? I just looked it up today. Into the valley of death, they went, the 600. And again, I guess, the statue of this poet, probably you can't find it in England, but you will find a statue of a couple of the generals who did a little better than this dipshit who, got rid of 600 peasants in somebody else's land. The whole idea that the British have decided to say, yeah, if Americans are not coming, we send our peasants. We don't mind getting rid of some peasants in Crimea again. This is the problem. Why? Because if these peasants can die, so we, the owners of England, can have at cost access to some raw resources in Ukraine, that would be great. A bunch of Nikolai this and Nikolai that die over there because somebody in city of London or in New York wants to cut their cost and be able to own the product at cost. Own the products, the raw resource, so it would be owner at cost, and they don't mind going to war for it. And sir, this matter of as I said, this matter of Jizya, that basically put a price on people. What the Indian guy was willing to pay in a one lump sum in order to buy the servitude of his people, or people he thought he was related to, and that was a great thing. But the idea is that life has a price on it. Every life has a price on it, and why? Some people's lives, but your system has decided that in order for some people to be able to rule, that means the ruler's price of life is much different from the ruled price of life. So if you kill, for example, in case of Palestine and Israel, settlers' life are more important to us in the West. Therefore, if 1,400 settlers are killed, we allow the settlers to kill 140,000 of you natives in West Asia, Arabs. We allow the settler Europeans to kill 140,000 of you natives if you kill 1,400 of them, and if anybody objects, we veto their objections in the United Nations. This is on another level. This is on the level that says, what is the idea behind Israel? What does the United States get out of Israel? Many who are realistic people in the politics of Uncle Sam's land believe that it's a very strategic location. It's as an big aircraft carrier in the Middle East, in a strategic location, and we want to have control. We want to have a seat at the table. Israel is our seat at the table of the Middle East. We just unseated Russia from their seat in Syria, but we still kept our seat in Israel is strong, very strong. This is 19th century politics. This is 18th century politics. This is 17th century politics. This is 16th century politics. This is 15th century. You get the idea. You get the idea, right? This is the same thing you're repeating on your planet. The same thing. That a bunch of rich guys wanna, have some kind of, they put their their hat over there, and anybody who passes has to cough up in the hat, or else they're gonna, you know, you put your hat down on the corner of the, crossing, you are the you are the gangster. You are the guy who says, I own this corner of this crossing, and anybody who wants to pass has to pay, or we're gonna bomb them, bomb their store or bomb their country. In case of Israel, Israel bombs a lot of countries around on behest of the real gangsters in New York and Washington. So that's clear. Yeah, but this Israel is, I don't think they're calling the shots really, because they are the hitman. The hitman is not the boss. The hitman works for the boss. Israel is not the boss. There are some, there are some, people who are benefiting from the actions of Israel. I mean, all these arms industries who are selling second-hand goods hand over fist to Saudi Arabia. They're selling all these arms and goods to Saudi Arabia hand over fist, the arms industry. So as long as there's an Israel there who can, scare the shit out of these Arabs, they keep buying arms and, to be safe. Most of them don't know how to use those arms. The whole idea is just, the gangster who are selling you some shabby goods, and you buy it because you want to keep the gangster happy, because he may send a hitman after you. This is gangsterism at international level. A gangster who will hire a hitman to hit you, hit your store, hit your country, if you don't pay up. The gangsters say, if you don't pay a little something under the table, this is a shakedown. I mean, the greatest this and the greatest that, and this is pure and simple gangsterism. What is there to brag about? You see where I'm going with this? I'm sorry, but I don't mean to be rude, but it's just common sense. If you think about it like this. Why would Uncle Sam's manager would actually need an investment from Saudi Arabia? Just have you noticed that, sir, Mr. Marco Rubio? Investment from Saudi. It's not enough that Saudi Arabia buys the very expensive shit to keep the arms manufacturing happy in the United States, so so they wouldn't get shot by the hitman of the Middle East who sits in Israel. In order to not get shot by Israel, they have to buy very expensive shit, and what expensive shit the United States sells is no longer Cadillac, not much Cadillacs, because there are other car manufacturers who are making much better than Cadillacs, but it's not selling less Cadillacs and less this and less that, but mostly arms. Here you go, Saudi Arabia. Here's all the arms. You have to buy arms. And Mr. Trump brought this up on the board that he made, that when Saudi Arabian prince came in, and Trump had it on the board that this guy is buying these. That's why he's our friend. So he knows that if he doesn't buy those, you will tell Israel to hit Saudi Arabia as well. You buy or you get hit. You pay into my cap, even if my products are underperforming and overpriced, doesn't matter, you pay in the cap. And I tell Israel not to hit you. This has been going on for 75 years. And in the process, all the Arab countries had to be kept under your thumb. de-industrialized, not allowed to be industrialized, not allowed to move forward in time, because you want to collect your dues just as a gangster would collect his dues from the area that he controls. And Israel is the hitman that is there, and without their help, we can't collect all this money from the Middle East. It's if somebody, I mean, I could not explain it to myself, but maybe somebody can, Mr. Rubio. Why would the United States need investment in United States? It's sort of like, you print a dollar. Why do you need their dollar? Because your rich people don't want to spend their dollar, you need somebody else's dollar. I mean, you're not telling me that Saudi Arabia has more money than, Amazon Corporation, or Saudi Arabia has more money than Apple. So what is this idea that Apple doesn't need to invest? We bring some money, the dollars that we print, that Apple has the most of it and Berkshire Hathaway has the rest of it. This dollar that we print, and our rich people have the most of it, but we are going to go to Saudi Arabia and get some money from those motherfuckers. Have you been to Saudi Arabia? Mr. Marco Rubio, please go to the real Saudi Arabia, those muddy city walls. Have you been there? Yes, they have palaces, but they also have muddy street walls. 40% of Saudi Arabian population is, according to independent sources, 40% of Saudi Arabian population is living under the poverty line. 40%, according to many independent sources. But, reporters are not allowed in Saudi Arabia to report. The foreigners are not allowed, and any dissent from within, they chop their heads off. But apparently there is no protest for that. So why is Saudi Arabia chopping so many heads off? Yeah, they're a son of a bitch, but there are son of a bitch. This is the worst mentality of all, sir. When you say he's my son of a bitch, and therefore it's okay as long as he's a son of a bitch. As long as the mentality is that it's a bad mentality. You know why? Because then every day you compare yourself to a son of a bitch, and every day you can become a worse person because you keep comparing yourself to a son of a bitch that you admit is a son of a bitch. So, but if you keep comparing yourself to a son of a bitch, you will never get better because you keep comparing yourself to the worst of the worst. So this idea that he's a son of a bitch, but as long as he's my son of a bitch, it's all good. This idea leads you to become worse and worse and worse yourself because you keep comparing yourself only to the assholes who you kept around you. So eventually you become an asshole over time because your friends are only assholes. You see where I'm going with this? That's a conversation I recently had with a gentleman, that I said, your employee is an asshole, and he said, yeah, I know. No, I said, your employee has problems, has issues. He said, yeah, I know he's an asshole. I said, so you like collecting assholes around you? and he said, yeah, but I'm a really good guy, and he's a real asshole, so we kind of counter each other. He was playing a good cop, bad cop in his business by making himself a good cop. But what he doesn't understand is that over time he will become worse and worse and worse because he keeps comparing himself to assholes all day long who he likes to collect around him. So here's the thing, Mr. Rubio. If your friends are only assholes, it will affect, you as well, me as well. If my friends are only assholes, it will affect me as well. So this idea that yeah, we are okay with some bloodshed in the Middle East because that allows us to have a say there, to have our hat on the ground there, and collect tax from, street tax as a gangster from the people who are there, who are living there, who are in charge, who we allow to be in charge there. Iraqis, we didn't allow Saddam to be in charge over there. That's why he was under sanctions, because he wanted to do something for his people. He was a little nationalistic, and we didn't like that. Yeah, Saddam, his only problem was he was nationalist, and he was stupid. He worked for CIA, and they told him to do a lot of bad shit in the Middle East. Because the CIA doesn't go find the most intelligent people, because the most intelligent people wouldn't want to work for CIA. CIA goes and finds the least intelligent people and picks them as assets. The agents are maybe intelligent. I would doubt that too, because who would want to work for a system that oppresses and suppresses so many for the benefit of so few, oppressing and suppressing the native population all over the planet for the benefit of a few rich people in New York and the city of London and Paris. Few rich people living in exclusive environments, exclusive communities, benefit from all this bloodshed. The rest, everybody loses. Even the planet loses from spread of so many, harmful chemicals, as the burn pits in Iraq was a sample of it, to all these chemicals that is released into atmosphere through your bombs. Sir, the main argument is Israel is our greatest ally in the Middle East. Well, then you have to consider, why do you have so many enemies in the Middle East? Why isn't everybody your enemy, your ally in the Middle East? The question is, your ally is the one that is creating the most problems in the Middle East, because there are a bunch of Europeans who decided to move to Middle East, to Asia. So it's your ally. It's not your greatest ally, it's your only ally. Israel is your only ally in the Middle East, and the reason is because they're playing unfair with the natives. And you're supporting it, therefore the natives don't want to have anything to do with you. Their people don't like you. And you know that. You're paying their rulers to suppress them. In order to, if they don't like you, at least they should respect you. That's a sort of like giving an ultimatum to, as a gangster, you give if as a gangster, your kids, if the people you keep charging, if their kids throw a few stones at you, you go to the father and the mother and say, hey, you stop your kids throwing stones my way, and I will not charge you more. But if your children keep throwing stones, I will have to charge you more. That's how it's dealt with Jordan and Egypt specifically, that you have to make your people behave, and we will give you some money. So therefore the kingdom over here and the military junta over there, and it's all good, and it's not democratic, but it doesn't matter, because they're our son of a bitch. Again, there are assholes. Again, you surround yourself with a bunch of assholes, eventually you turn into an asshole. That's how it is. If your friends are torturers and killers and people who are you pay them to suppress their own population, and and then you wonder why Israel is your greatest ally, because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If your greatest allies, the only thing they do is try to grab land and suppress the natives, that makes all of the natives your foes. Yeah, you can overturn their government, or you can pay their government to suppress their people, but their people are going to be all your foes. Why? Which you call terrorists. Okay, foes, terrorists. Their people are going to become your foes, or eventually some radical ones are going to become terrorists. But it's not like the other ones who are not a terrorist are your friends. This is not it. NPR. The street people in Egypt don't like you either. It's just that they're not willing to go all the way to the terrorist business. They don't want to get physical, but they don't like you either. The street people of Jordan and Egypt and Syria. But you keep forcing upon them and paying their leaders to keep it on lockdown. Keep it on the lockdown. Don't breathe. And these are your allies. What purpose is this serving beside you getting some money in the process? What other purpose is being served? It's all comes down to money. It comes down to the life of the natives is not as important. So they don't need the money, we need the money. Although we print the dollar, and Jeff Bezos has most of the dollar that we already printed, but we are going to ask these Arabs, 40% of them whom are still living in, mud houses or similar condition, and we're going to ask them to bring their dollars that we gave them for nothing, for the stuff that they sold us. They printed some dollars, we gave them for the stuff that they sold us, and now, but we really need them to bring that dollar back to us. You have an insatiable appetite for wealth. You have the most of it, but you're still happy that trying to find Zambia on the map and ask them to buy weapons from you. Let's find Zambia and ask them to buy weapons, because we need that money to come back, because we have this insufficiency of money. It's not enough. Mark Zuckerberg doesn't have enough. Bezos doesn't, or what they have is theirs. And we need foreign money. Do you really need foreign money? Why do you need so much money? And you're not selling them washing machine, you're selling them arms, expensive arms. So, they can go and kill their neighbors with it. Salute. Mr. Rubio, here's the thing, sir. I'm not sure maybe we are living in two different realities. Maybe I'm living in a simulation, and you're living in a simulation, and your simulation and my simulation do not match. But in the simulation that I'm observing in a daily basis, what I'm seeing is that you have taken a group of people from Europe, Hungary and Poland, and some of their relatives who were Europeans went to North America, and then from North America they went to Asia. Asia is where Israel is. You have taken a bunch of white people, Europeans and North Americans who eliminated all the redskins. So you take a bunch of Europeans or people from European descent, you settle them in the corner of Asia. These people are forcefully taking land or making the conditions uninhabitable for the natives in order for the natives to give up the land and move on. You did this in North America to the Redskins. Am I living in a different are you seeing a different picture, Mr. Marco Rubio? Are you seeing a different picture? Because this is what I'm seeing in the simulation, in this reality that I'm living in this, whether it's that's why I'm trying to think if me and you are living in two different simulations in this life. That in your simulation, all the rights are given to the Europeans because they're white, and they are, part of a Judeo-Christian club. That they are, part of our club, and that gives them the right to take land forcefully from the natives. And if the natives do any kind of fight back, we are going to make their condition uninhabitable, their environment uninhabitable, so that we can push them back. And we tell them that this can only be rebuilt by us. It cannot be rebuilt by you. That's a bit much. This is what I'm seeing in my simulation, Mr. Rubio. And logic and reality and just a little, cognitive power says that, yeah, maybe most of the rights should go to the natives because they were born there, and their brown skin is a testament that they have been born there for many generations. And these white people who keep having sunburn in West Asia, having to deal with sunburn in West Asia, they're out of place. Their costumes, their traditional dress code for men is a big black overcoat with a big black hat. That's the traditional wear of people living in very cold climates. Some, silly idea that these people belong to this climate. The climate are hot, sunny climate. Yes, let's put an overcoat on and a black hat on so we can see how much more of this heat I can absorb. Salute. They are not natives. They have agreed to become your hitman in the Middle East. Enforce your will in the Middle East in order for you to collect some money from the Middle East. Sir, you own the reserve currency of the world. 90 out of every of the 100 richest people in the world, 90 of them live in your land, and you still don't think you have enough. Who has enough? Zambia. We have to go after Zambia. And here's the thing. That's the thing about nuclear weapons, sir. Mr. Marco Rubio. When other people in this world see this simulation, they feel that they all need nuclear weapons to prevent the white people from coming to grab the resources for free. Let me repeat that, sir. People around your planet, all of them, feel everybody needs nuclear weapons because the white man apparently doesn't have enough. They want more. 9 out of 10 rich people are living in North America, and apparently still they don't have enough wealth. So we have to go, collect from the Saudis and then pay off the Egyptians and the Jordanians to keep their people down, and then overthrow a government in Syria, make sure the guy we put there is the guy who kicks the Russians out. So, good for us. We still got Israel, and the Russians lost their shitty port. This is 17th century, 18th century, 15th century, 14th century, 12th century, 11th century. I think it's about enough. These Machiavellian political endeavors doesn't do anybody any good. You tried this before. You have to. What I'm trying to say is, you have to put on a muzzle on your wealthy. You as a nation have to say no. We're not going to support an apartheid state of Europeans in Asia. We did a mistake in supporting an apartheid state of Europeans in South Africa. We stopped making the same mistake with Israel. We don't see that it's a good idea to create a Hong Kong or a Macau as situation with Israel. These are Europeans. They shouldn't be enforcing their will, and grabbing land from the natives is enough. But you don't do that because our greatest ally. If you stop killing if your bombs stop killing the natives, all the natives will become your allies. But the natives are scared shitless. They have to keep paying you through the nose so you don't beat them. If you stop threatening to beat them, stop collecting money from them. If they don't pay, threaten to beat them. Then they all will be your allies. But if you're charging them through their nose, they have to pay through their nose and give up land. Pay through the nose and give up land. The Saudis have to pay and also give up land from their land, their ancestral land. The Arabian Peninsula has to be given up to the Ashkenazi to rule. That's a bit much. It's a bit much. That's a bit much. That's a bit much. I mean, you're not, by trying to enforce your will and collect more wealth in your land, you are, first of all, you're not having a good situation in your land. You're not creating a good situation in your land because of income inequality. The more wealth you gather from around the world in your land, the more you increase the income inequality, because your system is designed that creates a pyramid, and all the money ends up in very few hands at the top. So you keep collecting money from Saudi Arabia and the Qataris and the UAE and this and that. You keep collecting money from them and bringing to the homeland, and this money soon it will find its way up to a few hands at the top of the pyramid. You don't see this, and your poor people are still going to stay poor, because that's how capitalism works, especially capitalism on this scale. So your problem is not going to be solved with the Saudis bringing money into your system. You already print all the money. You already have all the rich people in your land. What is this infatuation with bringing more money to our land? You got printers, and then you got the owners of all the money that you already printed. That would be the few families at the top of the pyramid. You see, this added productivity can work good if it's managed well and not just in a few hands. This added productivity can do well, but if you keep it in a few hands, You have to keep going and begging the Saudis to bring you some money. Great. Here is the thing, sir. Try to value other people's life as your own. Why do you need to be so wealthy to live such an extravagant life, and somebody else has to go and die over a landmine in somewhere? Who cares? Our interest was protected. By that landmine exploding, it somehow helped our interest. At least that landmine, brought some money home. That's valuing your life a lot and valuing the life of other people much less. And that is the whole concept behind racism, is that my life is worth more than your life. That's racism. And you're still with it. It's sort of like, if it's an American citizen, its value is this. If it's a citizen of anywhere else, if they're friendly NATO countries, still it's 50% less, but still has some value. But if it's Zambian citizen, fuck them. Is worth more dead to us than alive. At least if he's dead, at least we made a few bucks with the landmine that we sold that got him dead. While he was alive, he wasn't making us any money. At least he made us $20 when he died with our landmine. I mean, there are other businesses beside arms industry. You can actually consider only trading with other people on the planet instead of trying to own their resources. Yeah, I know owning the resources is much better, much more profitable. If I own my own raw material and I'm the manufacturer, of course I'm gonna make more money. But does that justify me invading another country in order to own that resource? If you want to live a logical world to your children, you would say, you go with the logical answer and say, no, it's not worth it. It's better for us to take less profit instead of trying to insist to own the resource. In a way, you own the resources in Saudi Arabian oil. When you force Saudi Arabia to spend a certain amount of money every year with you, bring some of that cash back. Apparently you don't have enough cash. Apparently the few families who are on top, who own all the cash in the world, apparently they don't have enough, and the US government is in need, and US corporations are in need of Saudi Arabian money. The US government prints money and gives to Jordan and Egypt, and then US corporation demands Saudi Arabia bring money back. It's just business. It's just business. And there is no morality to it. Sir, do you want to leave a moral world to your children? Because, right now you're on top. With your children, they might not be at the top. And, at the time in the future, and they may suffer as a result of this, short-sighted political policies. The whole thing may end up in a nuclear war in 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road. This whole idea of we need to own their resources, we need to bring them to their knees, we need to own them, we need to show them. That's the whole idea. The rest of it is, we need to own the resources because we are not making enough money. Sir, if you have the 9 out of 10 richest people in the world in your own land, I think you have enough money. I think you have, and then this, the other two, 8 out of 10 richest people in the world live in the United States. The other two either live in France, England, Germany, or Canada, maybe Australia. It's sort of like you have all the money, and your friends in NATO have all the rest of the what is left of the money, the real money. But then you guys are the guys who keep attacking Africa and Asia, and keep trying to bring everybody else in line. Show them the way. Kick some ass. Take your pick. Whatever phrase you're comfortable using. But it's all money. They have to pay. Jizya was what the Islamic rulers at the time was charging my people in order for them to keep their religion. And in your world order, the nations have to pay you, bring you money, bring you business, buy your merchandise. If they want to stay safe and in working condition. If they don't accept that, we're going to bomb them. We don't accept independence in neighborhood. It's like a gangster having a problem with one of the neighbors who doesn't want to pay. That would be the Iranians. Uncle Sam's managers are asking the Iranians to pay up. They don't. One of the neighbors are not paying, so they're the bad guy. So we have to send our hitman, that would be Israel, after the Iranians who are not paying up. We like the Saudis because they bring money and invest in the United States. Again, while the United States has 8 out of the top 10 richest people in the world. 80% of the richest people in the world live in the United States. We have that, but we still like Saudi Arabia because they come and put more money in our system. And we don't like the Iranians because they don't want to put money in our system and they think they're independent. And now we have to go send the Israelis to kneecap them, to make sure they understand they're not independent and they have to pay up or suffer the consequences. Iran-Iraq war was the consequence. Israel attack would be another consequence. These are all consequences of you motherfuckers not paying up. This has been done century after century after century after century after century. You don't think it's enough? You don't think you have enough money, enough wealth in your piece of land, in your real estate? You don't think you have enough money? You think you really need to have a hitman to take care of business, to put the fear of God in the Arabs so the Arabs pay up and keep quiet? It all comes down to wealth. You're collecting jizya from the Arabs if they want to be safe, or else you turn them into Libya. Libya is an example set for the Arabs that if you don't cooperate, your shithole is going to look a similar shithole to Libya. So you cooperate, pay up. Cooperate means pay, money, jizya. The Muslims were collecting from us for a period, and now you have been collecting from the Arabs for 100 years now. They have to pay jizya to Uncle Sam's managers and the City of London. It's just not a good scene. It's not this enforcing your will, this gangster mentality. I know it looks good in the movie, but it's not a good scene. It's not a good scene. You know, you try to stamp out the gangster business in your societies because it's not, it's not logical, it's not productive, it creates a lot of other problems. Maybe you understand that in an international sense, trying to have Israel there to kneecap the Arabs whenever you give the orders, and trying to keep Arabs on their knees and collect money from them, and collect some money from the Africans and kneecap them. If have a couple of countries over there to kneecap people, it's beneath a great empire. I mean, you're forcing everybody to go nuclear by your own actions. By your own actions, you're forcing countries to go nuclear because they don't want to be invaded by these white people who think they don't have enough money. They don't want to be, they go nuclear because they don't want to be invaded by these white people who are coming after more money, more wealth. Apparently they don't have enough. Or else they're going to invade us or sanction us or embargo us. This is not a good scene for white people. This is not a good image that the rest of the world has of white people. A bunch of colonialists who basically, the richest people in their countries keep all the riches, and they don't want it. They don't have any social conscience. They don't want to take care of their societies. They collect all the wealth for themselves, like 10%, 20% at the top. And then instead they tell the peasants that they have to invade other people's land because for something important, such as democracy and freedom and capitalism and Christianity, and for something or other. But it's all about money. I mean, hasn't your species reached the point that to understand that creating a better quality of life for your citizens and setting a good example of moral leadership is better than being a gangster and having a hitman in the Middle East to collect some money, because apparently we don't have enough in the West. It's just beneath you. It's beneath your race. You've been on this earth for a while now. You mean you should have learned already?